Welcome back to the second episode ever of the Big Brother Beatdown. We got the big baby back, bitch brother. I was just fucking around. We got the microwave back. It took like the last one, man. It takes a while to get this dude back here, but we got a lot to talk about. That's been the hold up. You know, we did a full hour-long thing, and we talked about multiple UFCs on the last episode. We talked about 215. We talked about 217. We talked a little bit about a lot on the last one, so it didn't leave much for us to do another like long form podcast he was feeling. So now that the John Jones news broke, Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather is in 3 days. Holy crap, 4 days. Is it 3 days? It's the 26th and today's 23rd, so 3 days. Even though it feels like Wednesday and it's Saturday, it feels like it should be in 4 days. I'm crazy. Anyways, so we got John Jones popping dirty from his drug test. That's funny. We got John Jones popping dirty from his USADA drug test. Most likely, the was going to be stripped from John Jones after his UFC 214 win over Daniel Cormier. Ooh, if you so I picked Daniel Cormier going into that fight, and if I remember correct, you had John Jones going into that fight, right?
Oh yeah.
So you had John Jones going into the fight. How do you feel now that he fucking got popped for steroids? Do you feel like do you even really care? Like, do you feel like he cheated that fight? Do you feel like it don't matter? He would have won anyway.
So you picked Cormier, so you feel like the results are in already. Nothing's official yet. And even so, I don't think you beat somebody 2-0, just because, the steroids. If you think everybody in the UFC ain't on something to recover faster or, do this or do that a little bit better, then you're crazy in general, you know what I mean? So, it's again, nothing's official yet, and this could just be news for the Brock Lesnar fight. Maybe you're just putting John Jones' name.
I swear to God, somebody said that in the comments. They said
maybe they're just putting his name out in the comments.
Brock Lesnar fight.
See, and that's how I'm saying. It's like the Mayweather-McGregor thing's happening, and the next super fight is John Jones-Brock Lesnar. We're not going to wait.
3 to 4 years.
I mean, if he does get banned for 3 or 4 years, look for the John Jones in the WWE because they're fighting somewhere.
Yeah. Yep, good call. Yeah, John Jones to the WWE. That's what it's going to have to be now, man, because wow, man. After John Jones is fighting, when he called out Brock Lesnar, they were talking about putting Brock Lesnar back in the UFC versus John Jones, the heavyweight super fight. And you remember Jim Ross from the old WWE, the dude that wore the hat, the fucking like commentator dude, Jim Ross. He has a podcast now, and I didn't listen to it, but I just seen the clip, and he said he thinks John Jones is setting up for a fight with Brock Lesnar in the WWE instead of the UFC. But go ahead.
Well, see, all that I just said pretty much just came off the top, and that the more I'm sitting here thinking about it, Brock can't come back to the UFC. That's a bad look. It's already like they clearly let this guy through and they shouldn't have. They can't do that again. Yeah. So John Jones would have to go to WWE, and maybe this is, maybe the first step.
Yep. I accidentally hit the off button on the mic, but we're back. So, this could be the first step for him going back to the WWE. And I was thinking about, like, I did a debate, like, is USADA bad for the UFC? Because like you were saying, he can't come back to the UFC. It looks bad. He already got through when people were thinking he was cheating, and then turns out he popped dirty. Then you got John Jones, who's popped dirty twice now from being in the UFC for after fights. So we've had to, first he got suspended for like a year, then he came back. Now he's about to get suspended again for multiple years. I mean, so we're losing John Jones to USADA. We lost Brock Lesnar to USADA. Frank Mir, I don't know if you remember, him and Brock Lesnar have a history. They're 1-1 right now. And at UFC 200, Brock Lesnar fought Mark Hunt. Before Mark Hunt got the Brock Lesnar fight, he fought Frank Mir. Frank Mir would have beat Mark Hunt. It would have been Brock Lesnar, Frank Mir 3 at UFC 200. But Frank Mir also got popped by USADA, 2-year suspension. So that USADA took away Frank Mir, Brock Lesnar 3. They took away John Jones, Brock Lesnar. They took away John Jones and Brock Lesnar. They've taken away Anderson Silva's into his career because, after he got caught with the dick pills, he hasn't looked the same. Maybe it's because he don't want to ruin his legacy and get known as a cheater, so he actually stopped using. But now he's losing fights. Now that he's not using, he's losing. So it's taking away Anderson Silva's prime. And just like testosterone allows people to fight until they're into their older ages. So also, whenever I say, is USADA bad for the UFC, I mean, not only does it show that a lot of the big fighters are cheating, but it also takes away from people like Anderson Silva's prime, because your doctor can prescribe you testosterone. And if he does that, it's like medical, but at the same time, it's against the rules. So even though you could have Anderson Silva looking good until he's 43 instead of falling off when he's 38. Is it better? Because the counter argument for me is like the youth. If you're a 24-year-old trying to come into the game, Anderson Silva's got the mind of a 38-year-old Anderson Silva. You don't want him to have the body of a 29-year-old. There would be no chance for newcomers, really. It'd be the same old guard whooping ass up there. So maybe it's good for USADA because it allows people like Kevin Lee or the Kelvin Gaslams, the younger fighters, to actually beat some of these dudes. So do you think it's bad or good? And I was just going to say point it like this instead of like that just because it picks up better.
I feel like age is going to catch up with you no matter what. The NBA, they're not testing for steroids, I don't think. I mean, you look at LeBron, that guy is a walking steroid. Kobe Bryant, I'm sure he was taking them recover later in his career, and the Lakers were bad the last 2 or 3 years, and I'm sure he's on something. Well, he used to always get injured too. They say it's the way he works out now, and that's why he's learned to walk, run, everything differently, and that's why he doesn't get injured anymore. But I mean, he's probably on something too.
Something's got his mind right. He's drinking Michael Jordan's juice before.
I mean, I've never read anything on an eye test on him. I'm not sure, but
Adderall, that shit increases your focus. So I'm thinking he might be balling on Adderall just with his focus up there.
They might all take that too. Ain't no telling. But back to what we were talking about. What I feel like is if you maybe pay these guys a little bit more, let them get sponsors, something like that, they might sign a waiver and not even care about because all this comes down to safety. I feel like. And it comes down to safety pretty much. They're trying USADA's here, so these guys aren't taking full-blown concussions out here crying like Cormier did at the end of every fight. I mean, and there's been 2 people, I believe, recently that died after an MMA event. So it's really looking bad now. But it's, again, all these guys, they get old and they're injured and CTE, all this, the NFL players at least, and I'm sure the fighters too, they're going to feel like they would do it again. So maybe just make sure they're compensated a little bit more. And they'll probably sign a waiver, and that's going to release you of the liability.
Yeah, and that's a good point if they're compensated more, because right now, compared to all these other, TV, like sports, all these other sports, they get paid the least right now. Like, you have to be a champion to make millions of dollars in the UFC. And with that being said, that's incentive to cheat. It's like, I want to, people like John Jones, he's like, man, I'm only going to make $500,000 if I'm fighting without the belt, and I'm making $5 million with the belt. I need to get back on this juice and get my fucking belt back. Hopefully we can beat the system, because 500,000 to 5 million is big. That's a whole change of living. So, I mean, even in boxing, a lot of not just Conor McGregor, a lot of other UFC fighters are talking about wanting to go to boxing because they'll get a bigger payday at the top of the bill. Now, some people say the lowest level boxers don't make as much as the low UFC, but who knows? No one pays attention to the lowest level boxers. I don't know their salary, and I don't know. The lowest UFC is like 8,000 to show up right now, 8,000 to fucking win. But I don't know boxers, so I can't argue that. So I do know at the top, those boxers make way more money. They make millions just being at the top. Like, you got Canelo versus Triple G right now. Even if both of them aren't champions, they're going to make millions for that fight just being who they are. Go ahead.
I was going to say, in every sport, when you look at the top stars, they're going to be paid better.
Well, yeah, they're paid better, but I'm just saying, like, in the UFC, at most of these sports, you make millions. Like I'll go to the – go ahead.
Well, I was saying it comes down to the percentage of the pie that they're getting. That's why the NFL, they're talking about holding out right now, because their last collective bargaining, they didn't get enough of it, or they got the shitty end of the deal, basically. The NBA, I think they've got 45, maybe 50% of the total revenue. That comes down. That's the problem with the UFC is they're not like even exactly. See, so the fighters were getting 7% of the total revenue.
And that's and the Fox deal, which the NBA players get 50 of, the fighters get 0.
Yeah, see, and that's where that union's going to come into play. But at the same time, the top stars have to be willing to hold out, and they're not. Why would they miss their money they're getting? You know what I mean? That's the NFL's going to they're going to have the same problem. They can have a holdout. I think there will be a holdout for a while, but once that top 2-3 stars crosses that line back over, football's back in, man.
And since it's an individual sport, a lot of these guys, they don't have the team mentality. They're like, I'm not about to sacrifice my personal life. I'm not about to sacrifice my life for these other fighters, because it's not even like their team. And, like most of the other sports, there's at least somewhat of a team mentality. This is one of the few sports like boxing where it's just you. going in there, you know. So, my only point with that is these guys have less of a team mentality, so they're gonna have less of a will to sacrifice their earnings for all these people. That, you know, a guy that might have knocked them out. You know, this guy might have knocked me out in 13 seconds in front of the world, and I'm about to fight for him, and I'm a champion or whatever. You know, that's just the case. But so it's gonna be harder because this is the thing. There was actually the best MMA union. There's been a few people that have tried to make an MMA union. One of them was with this guy Randy Couture, who you remember from back in the day, and he doesn't have any big stars with his. But they've been doing it for the longest, going to court trying to get the Ali Expansion Act expanded. The Ali Act expanded to MMA. They've been going to the courts trying to fight for a union. They're just called like the MMA FA, the MMA Fighters Alliance or whatever. So now we had a group come out, the MMMAA, and they had George St. Pierre, TJ Dillashaw, Cain Velasquez, Donald Cowboy Cerrone, and one other person I'm forgetting off the top of my head who was with them. All they came out like we're the new MMA union, and they had an old, you know, okay, so there's only like 3 Dana Whites. Dana White, Scott Coker, and then there was this guy like Bjorn Rebney from Strikeforce or wherever the fuck he was from. They even had the Bjorn Rebney guy, so someone who knows how the business works with those stars. And then, so it was like, all right, you know, we announced these 5 stars, and we're just going to be going and getting more fighters. That shit went away in the wind. Nobody's still talking about it. No one brought it back up after they came out.
I mean, it sounds to me like they got some of that $4 billion.
Let's check this out, because now GSP's got a fight. He ain't thinking about the union. TJ Dillashaw, the UFC was trying to give him Mighty Mouse's title. They're trying to, you know, it's like all they got to do is take one of these guys out of the union and give them what they want, and then they got a fucking mole in this. All they had to do was say, GSP, listen, all right, we're going to give you $10 million. You know what? Fuck all that. We need you. These other guys, they just want to use you. All they got to do is get to one of these guys. It's not like they came out with their team. They just came out with some other fighters who were disgruntled. All of them were disgruntled at that time, and now they're all starting to get what they want, and there's no more union talk.
Well, I think there's a mole in every union. That wouldn't have blown it up. They had to get to a few of these guys, or I mean, there's no telling what really happened. You know, it's speculation. We're gonna end up way off in the deep end, but something clearly if they just went off in the wind.
So it was crazy. He was a part of it. Cowboy Cerrone was one of Dana's boys before, so if anybody was the mole from the beginning, it would be because Dana White has paid this dude's. He got into a trouble at the lake, you know, a little not domestic, but with other people, you know, getting drunk, going crazy. Dana had to pay for his lawyers to get him off of his charges, and that was with Dana's own money out of his pocket. So he always had one up on Cowboy. So it was interesting to see him coming a part of the union. It was like, that's Dana's boy, and he's in the union. It's like you always had to be careful. If I was in the union and I had Cowboy beside me, you always got to be careful what you say around him, because that's Dana's boy. Like, so he could have been, who knows what caused it to dismantle, but then they literally, after they came out, it was looking real good for the whole week. People were excited about it. Other fighters were talking to him. Nothing. No more talk of the union. And they asked Conor McGregor about it before. He just turned the shit down. Like, I don't know what them guys are doing, but I know that one dude they're with was a mole, because that Bjorn Red guy, he had a bad reputation. So people were like, you know, you were screwing over fighters before, just like these people you're saying are screwing over fighters. You were doing it on top of fighters had to sue you to get out of the contract. There's some fighters that don't fuck with him because when they tried to go fight somewhere else because he fucked them over, he was like, nope, I got you under contract. So he was a dirty dude in the past. So a lot of people were like, you're going with the snake. He only wants money. That you guys want. Dana White's like, I don't care if you guys got a union or not. It just changes who I'm giving the money. What's going to happen is I'm going to be giving the money to him, and you're going to have to trust him to give it to you guys, or you can get it straight from me. So, you know, a lot of the fighters were like, yeah, that guy is a snake, you know, fuck him. So people were kind of torn, but at the same time, like, the general good, the greater good is the union. There's going to have to be some sort of union sometime. I don't know when, I don't know how. I'm not going to be the fucking nigga out here fighting for it on every video. Hey, fighters, have you thought about what the fuck, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know how it's going to work, because if a star comes out, they can just get chopped off. I mean, now they can go to Bellator, but if they're under I don't know, it's just weird. Were you going to say something? Or?
No, not anymore.
Okay, but yeah, so I don't know how the union's going to come into play, but I mean, I don't even know how we got onto the union talk. But as far as the John Jones thing, I mean, so Daniel Cormier, he might get his title back. It hasn't happened yet. He released a statement. Do you think that Daniel Cormier is still if he gets his belt back, do you consider him a real champion, a rightful champion, or do you feel like he has an asterisk? I think he's the real champion. The dude, the only guy to ever beat him in his life, cheated.
Well, I mean, if they strip the title from him, he's a real champion. But I'm always gonna. Well, right. He has the belt around his waist. He's the real champion. But I'm still always gonna feel like John Jones is the better fighter there. Steroids or not, but I mean Cormier is the champion. He's gonna beat the next person he fights, this and that. He's gonna look really good, but people are always gonna say John Jones would have beat you, man. Especially the way he was crying like that and the way that ended up, man. It's never gonna be a good look, whether this guy's on steroids or not.
Man, Daniel Cormier, he reminds me of like that big cuddly bear. Like that big cuddly bear, he might cry, but he's still a fucking savage. Don't piss him off. He reminds me of like somebody that, you always see that big dude, like, the biggest dude, like, but he don't look like he don't look hard or he don't look threatening. He's just like a big, soft teddy bear guy, but it's like if you talk about his mom, he'll probably fuck you up. He'll probably come alive like a battle bot, eyes turn red and fuck you up. That's what he reminds me of. But fuck it, I give Daniel Cormier his respect. I mean, I honestly don't feel like a clean John Jones could beat a clean Daniel Cormier. I don't. Or if that was the case, John Jones wouldn't have fucking cheated after he got caught cheating. Well, if the whole world is knowing you as a cheater and people are buying your excuse, they're buying the dick pills. People believe you. Go ahead.
I'm just going to stop you there because you're clearly in Cormier's corner. Like, no matter what. Like, the way you are already convinced John Jones he's been dirty before, he's dirty again. I'm just saying, if you were to replay and hear yourself talk, you're not making it sound like it still might not be true. Like, everything you say is like, he's dirty, he's getting stripped, here we go.
It is.
But sometimes you get flagged and we mixed the samples up.
No, they would have did their due diligence with John Jones. They know John Jones. Dude, okay, well, I'm speaking like I know he's going to get stripped. I do think he's going to get stripped. It's not up for debate. It's going to happen. His team's already released a statement. We're shocked. His manager's already released a statement. Dana White's already said this is possibly the end of his career. Daniel Cormier's already released a statement. I mean, it's moving, and now he just hasn't got stripped yet, but he got caught cheating. So I'm just saying, a clean John Jones, if he's cheating, now you're speaking as if we don't know he's cheating yet, so I understand what you're saying, but okay, I'll ask you this. If he gets stripped of his title, do you think a clean John Jones could beat a clean Daniel Cormier if it's proven he's cheating again?
Yes, because John Jones' legs aren't like tree trunks, man. You showed me this video 3 years ago where Cormier's like, it's not like you're going to catch me with the leg kick, John. And he caught him with the fucking leg kick. Like, if it's steroids, maybe it's recovery, maybe it's for muscles. Look at John Jones' legs. It's not like it's just, you know what I mean? You got caught with the fucking leg kick, man. He's going to beat you either way.
Yeah, you do got a good point. That is so fucking crazy. That's the worst part, that prediction where he was like, you think you're going to catch me with that left leg and kick me in the head, but you're not going. That was before the first fight, damn near. Like, it was like, damn, dog. He's like, you need to fix that. You need to fix that. And then after he got the win with that kick, it's like it made his coaches look like the fucking gurus. And now his team is looking bad because his team just came out and was talking about how Cyborg was worse than a man for cheating. They said a woman is taking steroids is worse than a man cheating. And so Cyborg came out and said, be careful when you're throwing rocks at me at his coach, because Holly Holm is another one of John Jones's teammates, and she's been, people have rumored that she's also been abused steroids before. Just from her after USADA, her shape isn't the same. So they're saying she got off the juice when USADA came in. I mean, she has never popped dirty, but there's like pictures of like her physique, and they like put circles on her arm, like, and it shows how she was way more ripped. And then it says after USADA, and her like ripped wasn't there as much.
I'm just always going to be skeptical of any fighter who makes it to the UFC that has never taken anything. You know what I mean? Even as far as creatine or a pro. Oh, I mean, it is fine, but I'm saying it's just that in the beginning, people probably took creatine because that's what helped. And, steroids helps more. This, you know what I mean? They're just looking for that next competitive advantage. Like, what was Peyton Manning? Deer antler spray? What the hell? That don't even sound like it would help you. But look at him. He broke the goddamn touchdown record in the next year or two. So it's like they're all on something. Like, it's just, now this is banned. I guess we got to find something else. And some of them, I guess, don't change. I don't know. I don't get it. But, I mean, everybody's on something.
Now, one person, I don't think everybody is. I think there's a few select people that like are have always said, man, fuck these cheaters. Everyone's on, like, Nate Diaz is famous for saying all these motherfuckers are on steroids. Everyone's on steroids. Like, every time anyone gets popped, you'll see everyone is on steroids / Nate Diaz. Like,
I mean, maybe everyone but Cormier, because he comes in looking like, I'm saying, yeah, he comes in looking like Roy Nelson. So, I mean, but then again, he actually, when he walked in that cage against John Jones the last time, I said, this is the most shape he's ever been in. I said, he might, because everybody else was like on, that'd be crazy, but I'm saying everybody else was on like Cormier's side, and that's like, I'm rocking with John Jones, man. I'm not switching. That's Kobe, you know what I mean? He's the GOAT, man. And it's like when he won, I was like, okay, cool. But I was a little nervous when Cormier walked in, actually looking like a fighter this time.
Damn, and he got fucked up worse. It's funny, yeah. You could say John Jones is like Kobe, and I could say Danny Cormier is like LeBron, the real GOAT. No.
If LeBron loses and he starts crying like that, and he don't want to talk to nobody, and then he still talks to people, and it's like, man. And in the video, when I check this out. Let's say 3 years before LeBron played Durant, and he's like, Durant, it's not like you're going to walk down and hit a three in my face. And then Durant came down and did it. It's like, bro.
The only difference, I mean, I see what you're saying, but these dudes, they can cuss. When he was talking on the mic, he was getting cussed. And what, like I said earlier, it makes it bad, that prediction that he said, you're not going to kick me in my head with that left leg. And boom, slow motion, boom. Yeah, and I said that in one of the videos. I was like, man, as beautiful as that was, John Jones had the game plan to beat Cormier. He didn't need to fucking cheat. He like literally from the way he beat him, how he predicted it years ago, he didn't need the shit to beat him. But it takes away from the prediction and all of that from the fact that he got caught cheating.
I mean, it's definitely a star on his record, but like I said, asterisk, yeah, but I'm like, either way, I feel like John Jones is the better fighter there. Like, this is about to suck. You ain't going to see him until he comes back 34, 35. But Woodley's anywhere between 35 and 37, I believe. So it's like, yeah, John Jones comes back. This day and age, everybody's eating right, you know, just living better in general, not drinking beer, shit like that. It's like he's going to, when he comes back, he's still going to have 3 or 4 years. Probably he's going to go fight Brock in the UFC, in the WWE.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much you know about Bellator. I know you know a little bit about Bellator, but that dude Frank Mir, you know who Frank Mir is, but you know I was telling you how they could have their third fight. They both won 1-1. Well, that could happen in Bellator because Brock Lesnar, he's not loyal to the UFC. Brock, you know, the Bud Light sponsors the UFC. Brock Lesnar went into his UFC fight and put tape over his Bud Light shit. He said, they're not paying me enough. He said, so I'm going to go home and drink a Coors Light. It would be a Bud Light, but they're not paying me. So I'm going to go drink a Coors Light. So whoever pays him the most money is where he's going. So Bellator, who's got Frank, they just signed Frank Mir. If they can get Brock Lesnar versus Frank Mir 3, it would be bananas. And if they offered him the money.
I mean, I feel like, maybe Bellator has the money. I just feel like, but what I'm saying is, I feel like WWE would be able to pay more than Bellator probably. It's going to take
for Frank Mir, but people want to see him in a real fight.
I mean, he might take it because Brock really doesn't want to fight out here and get hurt, I don't think. I'm a big fan of Brock, but that's what I'm saying. I think he'd fight Mir because he thinks that's an easy match for him. He could just take him down and whoop his ass again. Like, he's going to show up looking like a human tank, and it's just over. Like that Brock Lesnar I seen against Frank Hunt, man, that was like the Terminator against Mark Hunt. He looked like the Terminator, man. Like, he wasn't missing a single muscle. It was insane.
And there's no USADA at Bellator. There's no USADA at Bellator. So he could come over to Bellator and look that same way, fight against an older guy, a guy that's not coming to take his head off. Frank Mir, you know, he's known for submitting guys. So it's a less dangerous fight, huge payday. Everybody wants to see it because they're, man, like it's the Brock Lesnar's famous line where after, because he lost the first fight, Brock Lesnar, even though he was looking good, Frank Mir caught him in a heel hook and fucking submitted him in the first fight, won the fight. So Brock Lesnar had to hold that L. Next fight, Brock Lesnar beat the dog shit out of him. After the fight, Frank Mir's face was bloody, like Cormier, but his shit was bloody, and he pointed at him and he was talking shit. And he grabbed the mic and said, yeah, that boy had a horseshoe up his ass, and I pulled it out of there. Woo! Like, just shitting on him after the win. So now they got 1-1. So that third fight could have happened at UFC 200 if Frank Mir didn't get popped by USADA on top of losing to Mark Hunt or whatever. So he might have beat Mark Hunt, but he got overturned because of USADA. But he also got suspended for 2 years after that. But the UFC just released Frank Mir and let him go over to Bellator. So they got Bellator. All they need is Brock now. Brock's just won in SummerSlam. They were saying if Brock Lesnar loses in SummerSlam, he might come back to MMA, but now he's going to need more time because he won his belt or whatever.
Well, what I'm thinking of now is a Bellator. I mean, because to me, when I think Bellator, UFC, Bellator is like where it's like the fighters that UFC doesn't want. Maybe
just got Gegard and Rory McDonald, so it's just now starting to cross into fighters UFC.
Well, I'm saying maybe Bellator makes the union, or maybe they allow the union over there, and that's going to make some more of these big name fighters go, and maybe they can actually be competition to the UFC. Because even with Gegard and that other guy, I'm still like, Rory, whoever. It's like Gegard, I kind of want to watch fight, but Rory, I really not that interested in yet. Mm-hmm. But it's like maybe that union move is going to get some of these other fighters over there.
Yeah, and like it's just like the Bellator, they've got an open checkbook right now. So pretty much what they're saying, anybody that the UFC lets go, so they're getting, because they just got bought by somebody like the UFC. You know, the UFC got bought by a huge company. Well, the Bellator got bought by a bigger company, if you could imagine that. Their name is Viacom. UFC is WME IMG, but Viacom just bought Bellator, and they've got more money than the other people. So they're buying everyone they can from the UFC that they can't afford. So like Gegard, they got Gegard because Gegard wanted more money. The UFC didn't want to pay him what he felt he was worth. So Bellator's like, we will. And Rory McDonald, and also Bellator, you still have sponsorships. They don't got the Reebok deal. The dude, Scott Coker, you've never heard a bad word from a fighter about Scott Coker, unlike Dana White people. You know, it's like the opposite of Dana White. He's the good guy. He lets people have their sponsors. He builds. They have a lower division is another thing. Like, they don't have as much high talent, so they have to do it a little differently. So they can take somebody like a Sage Northcutt or someone that's not in their prime, and they can build them up. UFC, you got to throw guys to the wolves. So Bellator, they've got a lot of things going for them that, you know, if for some reason John Jones gets released, Bellator will pick his ass up. I don't know how the suspension works. It's across all MMA or just the UFC. Bellator would buy John Jones. I don't know if that. I'm sure the UFC won't let him go though. Yeah, they're not going to let him go. They'd rather him come back at 34. Yeah, so that's not going to happen. But still, Brock Lesnar, I don't know if I'm pretty sure he only signed a one-fight deal for UFC 200. So he can go to Bellator, and that's another thing. So, I mean, I would watch that. And, like, you know, like you said, you know, it's like where people go to retire. Like, Chael Sonnen's at Bellator now. Chuck Liddell's might do one more fight at Bellator.
It's the people UFC doesn't want, pretty much. I think I said that the other day. It's where they go to retire. Today, I was more like, that's just the people the UFC doesn't want anymore.
Yeah, and like and so that line is just starting to cross because the UFC does want Gegard. He was on like a 6-fight winning streak, top of the. Yeah, they just didn't want to pay him what he thought he was worth because he might not have as many Twitter followers as someone else. So, you know, they're like, you're one of the best fighters in the world, but you're not one of the most popular fighters in the world. So we can afford to let you go because it's like they're going toward entertainment.
Well, yeah, even in, like I said, I've never seen Gegard fight, so.
I show you, or I remember I put you and someone else on Gegard. I was telling you how he fought a heavyweight and all that shit. And I remember y'all were like, man, I'll watch his next fight. But yeah, you might not have seen any of his fights.
I never seen his next fight then. I kind of remember, but like I still.
Yeah, his next fight is going to be in Bellator because he just beat somebody and the UFC didn't resign him. So he's on a winning streak and could be fighting for the title.
But I mean, like, that's not good. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's good for him. He got his money and stuff, but like. So he's good enough to be in the UFC. They just don't want to pay him that much. So now you're going to be clearly the best guy in Bellator, beating everybody you're better than. Like, why would I want to watch you fight over here?
Well, I mean, and that's somewhat true. But I mean, at the top, this is the thing. At the top of Bellator, they've got guys that compete with some guys in the UFC. Now, at the lower ranks, not at all. If you go to the 10 through 15 at Bellator, the 10 through 15 at UFC is winning. But now the 1 through 3. Those guys can compete with the 1 through 3, like the Michael Chandler.
Being in the UFC?
He's never got his title shot, but he's undefeated. I was supposed to get a title shot. That's the division where Michael Bisping was fighting guys that weren't the contenders, so it was like a log jam. No one was fighting for the title. Yoel Romero wanted to fight for the title, and all these guys were log jam because Michael Bisping fought Dan Henderson, and then now he's waiting to fight GSP, so they couldn't get a title shot. But he was the only guy that's like, hey, I'll fight. While we wait on the title shot, any of you top 4 want to fight? Fight one of them, the one above him who took the fight, beat him. These other guys don't want to take the fight with him, so he's one of those guys that people don't want to fight because, you know, he don't have as many Twitter followers, but he's likely to beat you.
So, I mean, that makes me want to see his next fight, but at the same time, after he wins 2 fights in Bellator, it's going to be like, all right, you're clearly better than these guys.
But the only thing, I mean, now that would be the case if Bellator wasn't starting to sign like bigger guys, because while he fights his first fight and then his second fight in Bellator might sign Luke Rockhold or Chris Weidman, if their contract is up. They're going to be signing anybody that the UFC drops. They're going to be picking up on top of new talent, on top of, people like Chael Sonnen still on steroids. Some people say could drop down and fight him at 185. Rory McDonald, he's the last guy to beat Tyron Woodley. He could move up and fight Gegard. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that or Gegard can move up to 205 and just fight a bigger guy just for fighters, just move up and fight the 205-pound champion. And I mean, it'd still be a challenge. And if they stack the card, you might tune in.
So I'm about ready to get on Madden, man. I've been ready to respond over here. He spit out so much information, you can't even. Either way, he's the one guy the UFC kind of wants. They don't want to pay him that much. Now he's over here with a bunch of other people the UFC don't want. He's the only one good enough that should be in the UFC, man. It's like that's boring. Sure, somewhere down the road somebody might get good enough. Or what if they don't? UFC doesn't want this guy, and then another guy the UFC doesn't want is over here. It's like, what the hell, man?
I mean, I see what you're saying. I mean, I'm a huge Gegard fan, and you don't know much about him, so I see where you're coming from. Okay, so let's just move on to Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. There's one other thing, UFC 216 now. The only people you probably know on that card so far are Kevin Lee. You might know him a little. And Tony Ferguson is the guy that was supposed to fight Khabib, but Khabib pulled out. So now they're fighting for the interim title. Winner fights Conor McGregor in MMA. Kevin Lee is the dude I was telling you about. He's from where Sweek and Walt, where they're from, Michigan. He's from Detroit. And he's also the new breed. He's got good striking, good wrestling, good jiu-jitsu. He uses his striking to set up beautiful takedowns. Like, I watched all his fights on Fight Pass at work because we didn't have shit to do, in this last week. So he's like the new breed. He's young. He's only 24. And then Tony Ferguson, he's on like a 10-fight winning streak. We've seen him in trouble. He's got like clipped up to where he was like wobbly, almost got finished, but the dude wasn't able to finish him before he regained. So he continued his winning streak. But winner fights Conor McGregor. Do you care about that fight, or do you just want to see him whenever they actually fight Conor?
I remember wanting to see Kevin. I want to see Ferguson and Khabib first of all. So when that got canceled, I don't really remember seeing either one of them. So I know they're both up and coming. Again, I hear about you, then I got to watch you, see if I want to watch you more after that. So I want to see this fight too, because the Kevin Lee fight, I ended up missing that last one too. So, but to me, what it sounds like is Ferguson is like the real contender. Kevin's the up and coming. I hope Ferguson doesn't do him bad, because I want to see the young dude do good too. But as far as fighting McGregor, he's not coming back to the UFC, man. They're not gonna. You make $100 million, you're gonna have to pay me at least $50 million for my next fight. There's no way the UFC can pay him that. This guy will get $20 million in a movie, so why would I even fight in the UFC? Even if you can pay me $20 million, you ain't got to tell me all this buying stakes in the company bull crap. He doesn't care about that. Like, maybe he will. I'll buy stakes in the company and I fight. It's gonna do good. Even he invest in there, it's like I don't see him improving the stock that damn much. Like, why still fight? Why put yourself in bodily harm? He could get in a boxing match again even if he fought Pauly, he's gonna make another 52, maybe $100 million. Honestly, he might even make $100 million to fight Pauly next. Like, there's no reason to go to the UFC and fight for what's the max been, like $10 million.
20 million probably with pay-per-view points and shit.
20 with, yeah, and that's like with the pay-per-view shit. This guy, he's getting $100 million, man. I don't know what. I kind of want to see what movie stars make, because I'm sure they could pay Conor $20 million to, like, everyone wants to see LeBron in the next Space Jam. You could put Conor in the next Space Jam, man. This guy's big time. I'm telling you. You put him in anything, I want to see it. Like,
I mean, I do agree. I do think he'd be a better movie star than, like, they were talking about Ronda Rousey retiring from movies. Like, I don't give a fuck about a Rousey movie.
Big enough star to be no, not Rousey. I don't care.
So you might get a couple chicks to watch it, but what guy really wants to go watch fucking Bus Stop or whatever fucking movie she was gonna be remaking, whatever the hell. I mean, but Conor McGregor, he's that dude. I do think he could be a movie star. Now, I don't think we don't have the two mics to really just like debate or argue on this, so I'm just going to say my point. I disagree with you, but I understand what you're saying. I just think you are right. He won't come back just for $10 million to fight, or $20 million just to fight somebody, unless it was like Nate Diaz because he wanted his revenge.
No, he doesn't want to fight Nate Diaz again, man. That's one that second. Conor's my guy, man, but he doesn't want to fight Nate Diaz again. He can't hurt that guy.
Okay. Even at 150 pounds, at 155 pounds, you think it's different at all?
5 and 10 pounds, these guys.
It's 15.
Be 15 pounds. I'm sure this guy's losing that in the sauna, man, in a day or two. That doesn't change the fight. Nate Diaz, Conor can't hurt him.
You just get the reach and stuff. I mean,
I seen it. He ate too many punches, man. I thought Diaz was going to sleep. That's part of why I'm a Conor fan. The first fight, I mean, the second fight, but it's like the second fight, even I feel like just for Conor stardom, they had to give it to Conor. But Diaz, I feel like he was really the aggressor pretty much. Like that, I think that should count for a lot more. Is who's the aggressor?
And not to mention, I mean, and see, now when it comes to Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor, I'm Team Conor, and Conor can do no wrong. But I was one of those people too. Like when I was watching that second fight, like the way he's just turning his back and running like that is not good.
And that's because he knows if I throw it left, I'm not gonna hurt him, and then he might get me.
I think it was McGregor might have called him like lurch, like one of them dudes out there like just was a zombie, like just get hit and keep coming. But to be fair, Conor McGregor was clipping him. Okay. Now the thing about it is his cardio. That's why in them later rounds, I think he couldn't. He was out of gas. That was my thoughts. I thought he was out of gas, so that's why he had to do that. But it's not like Nate Diaz. Whenever he's seen Conor was out of gas, isn't it his time to like shoot takedowns, try and take Conor down to finish him, get him to the ground where you finished him last time instead of just pointing at him? Go do something.
Well, see, that was pretty much one of the first super fights. Maybe Nate Diaz didn't take a complete dive, but I was kind of wondering why he didn't take him to the ground. Maybe he just felt like he was winning the fight. I'm out aggressing you. Your punches aren't hurting me. Like he was willing to throw him with Conor. Maybe it was just more of an ego thing right there. Because I mean. The Diaz brothers strike me as two guys that would have egos.
Okay, but my thing is, even if it's like an ego, I see what you're saying, but like even if it's an ego thing, go choke that motherfucker out, and if you can't catch him, that's what if you can't catch him.
But what I'm trying to say is, why take him down if you feel like winning the stand up? You feel like you got this guy literally running from you. Why take him down? He's running from me.
Just because you can't catch him to do more damage. I mean, if you're saying you're just trying to ride out the win,
but and that's where this. What I need to do, fight till the death thing? Because that's why we have judges, because, that's what I'm saying. They need to see what's going on in here. Like, Conor was running from this guy. Like, it ain't a matter of me catching you. Well, that's why I shouldn't have to come catch you, man. We're in here to fight. Fight me. If you're running from me, you might as well get out the damn cage.
They used to give people, like, yellow cards for running.
They need to do something like that, right? I mean, say the fight goes till an arm is broken, then if somebody's knocked out, if these judges are gonna be funny, like it's just like boxing. I mean, that's why they got $4 billion out of this shit, though. Like they're gonna build superstars, same way the NBA, the Magic and Bird stuff. They're still they both general managers now, man. These guys aren't even playing anymore, and they're making headlines. It's just how it's gonna be, man.
Hasn't fought since then. He's making headlines. But yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. That whole second fight was weird to me, man. I mean, it's like, yeah, Conor did. I don't know, but I just know, as being a fan of how long I am, I know, like, Dana even tells these guys, don't leave it in the judges' hands. You never know how the judges are seeing the fight. Make sure you try and go for the finish. So whenever dude's tired, instead of 2 more rounds of pointing, it's like, man, I've seen this guy tired for too long, and you not shoot for a takedown. Can we shoot for one takedown?
See, you're convinced on this whole takedown thing, man. But what I'm saying is,
I'm convinced he was tired.
We're both clearly not fighters like that, but I think I can understand how, if you feel like you're winning against this guy, we're fighting, we're both, wanting to throw hands. And he was pretty much. Like, I mean, Conor did some damage, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say Conor wasn't hurting him. That shit looked like it hurt, but it wasn't doing anything to Diaz, though. So it's like, whenever I got you running from me, the judges don't see this. Like, I'm trying to fight him. He won't fight me back.
But now, some people take into account, like, because Nate Diaz has a lot of scar tissue on his face. His face just busts easier. So even though he might have been hitting Conor some shots just as good, his face looked worse at the end. So do you think that played a place into, like, the judges? Like, well, look, his face is fucked up.
Well, that's where a lot of these UFC fights are. I think we go back to high school. It's like in high school, they said Conor won that. You see Diaz's eye, man, he got fucked up. But as far as we have judges, this is a point style system. You take into account the aggressor, shit like that. Diaz won that fight.
They contradicted each other with that one and the Dan Henderson one.
Well, and then not only that, like I watched UFC kind of, but like that event and the one before that, they were specifically saying how the judges are now trained to take into account who's the aggressor, and they were just literally saying this shit. And as I'm watching Conor run and then get the win, it's like, what the fuck? But at the same time, man, Conor's a star, man. He's big time, and it had to happen, I guess.
I was about to say, like, it's funny because either way you want to do it, it contradicts it with the Michael Bisping versus Dan Henderson, because Michael Bisping's eye was fucked. His other eye was fucked. He could barely he looked like E.T. and he got the win. And he had the famous picture where his eyes were like E.T. and he was like, yeah, but he got dropped with those Hendo bombs. but so he fucked up his eyes. But he outworked him. You know, he landed more punches and shit. But if you go to the Conor McGregor-Nate Diaz fight and you say, well, Conor won because look at Nate's face. Well, then why did Bisping win? Because look at Bisping's face. You know, so it's like you used the damage in Nate's face for the Conor fight, but you used Bisping's work to give him the win. So it's like, it doesn't matter how you want to do it. Whoever you want to win, you can give the win and just say it was either the damage or the work.
Yeah, and it sucks to think of it like that because that makes me kind of even more not want to watch that much. I'm going to watch stars, but what I'm thinking now, you know, it's a business is what it comes down to. Whatever benefits them the most is what they're going to go with.
See,
so it's just entertainment.
The UFC doesn't control the judges. It's the commission. They're supposed to be. It's not.
Come on, man. You've got to know better than that.
But that's the same with like boxing, all this shit. Because if that's the case,
if that's the same with boxing, then look what's going on with boxing. It's not even a question. You know what I mean? They say that's what killed boxing, a part of it.
And I don't know. Yeah, that's just really weird to think of. That's some tinfoil shit. Like I don't even want to get into that. Really, it's not that serious because we'd have to.
You not want to watch it or consider it like the WWE.
And yeah, that would be weird. And so I mean, I see what you're saying, but yeah, it's just weird how they need to find a way to make that more consistent with the judging, or the guys have to go for the finish. But then when they go into like an ego thing where it's like, you're a striker, I want to strike with you instead of taking you down and choking you.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, we're both fighters. Everyone's here to watch us fight. You can't turn your back to somebody and run away ever. Like, Conor's my man again. I just don't want to see – no, I don't want to see Conor do it, but I don't want to see anybody else doing that. If you turn your back and have to run, you need to be penalized for, like you said, the yellow card. That's a good idea. And another card after that, man, you're running, bro. It's time for you to go home. You don't want to fight anymore. You want to go home.
One shot to the bread basket could have put him down, man. But yeah, that second fight was so weird. Like, it's so big, but just to think back, I remember how I was feeling. Like, what the fuck is going on? When I was watching it, I was like, what the fuck is going on? He's running. He's just following him, you know, pointing. It might be his ego or whatever, but shit, I'm thinking, this is Conor McGregor. Win the fight. Fuck that ego. This is Conor. You win again here. You're Nate Diaz.
See, and I never watched Diaz really before, and after the fight, he seemed a little slow. Maybe he's punch drunk or whatever. So he's for sure. And after the first fight, everybody's saying you whooped his ass. He grew up in Stockton or whatever. So you whooped my ass, huh? I mean, you know what I mean? Come do it again. And Conor's fucking running from him now. So that was bullshit to me because I'm a big fan of Diaz. It sucks he hasn't fought again. He wants the Conor payday, but it's not going to happen. Conor ain't, like I say, he ain't.
He's like, man, if I just whoop his ass here again, we don't get the rematch. Maybe he wanted him to win because he wanted the rematch.
Well, I mean, maybe that, but I don't want to call him slow or anything like that, but his whole everybody.
Even if he is, he's got people telling him the right
even if he had his brother, no, he didn't whoop your ass, man. You'll get him next time. He's feeling like Conor whooped my ass. You know what I mean? He probably watched the replay. He went through the damn fight. Maybe he didn't even want to watch the replay. He felt the damage. You know what I'm saying? The first fight, he took some of them hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he won.
He did win, but he was still like, they probably said, right, you know, Conor whooped his ass. So now he's like,
Conor ran out of gas.
So when he goes in there.
Clipping Conor up in the second round. That's what happened. Conor might have been already out of gas.
But my takeaway from Diaz did win. My takeaway was Conor was the better. Yeah, was whooping his ass. So that's why I just feel like the second fight.
Diaz only knocked out once. Conor McGregor set his ass down.
Yeah, and again, the way he talks shouldn't have anything to do with this. But man, I think he was in there like, you whooped my ass, huh? Okay, come on, man, do it again. And the fact that you turn your back and run from me, but check this out though.
Eddie Alvarez talks like that, a little slurred, like he's been punched.
Well, and what I'm trying to say is, why would I take you down if you're running from me? I'm winning what we're doing right now. Why would I try something else?
Just because you know the judges don't fuck.
They don't see, and that's a whole other problem though. Again, he was already in there for the payday.
Nate Diaz, you would rather Conor McGregor get the decision. You get a trilogy fight now.
No, you don't, because Conor ain't coming back. He didn't see the Mayweather thing. There is no Nate Diaz trilogy.
I mean, we're already at 43 minutes. We don't got to go too much longer, but that's the last thing we can talk about. Is so you probably are gonna watch UFC 216. I'm sure you'll watch it. The Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. I'm sorry, guys, that's my niece. Anyways, Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. Are you going with Conor McGregor? Or are you going with the old boring pig Floyd Mayweather? Who do you got winning?
I mean, you have to have Floyd win. You want Conor to win, but if you are a logical human being, I'm not gonna say have a brain. I guess we all have a brain, but Like Floyd never had to learn the grappling, the leg stuff, the kicking, all that. Like, he's been boxing this whole time. There's no way.
Yeah, you're boxing, not fighting. Get it straight. He's been doing the hand thing and doing a little hand thing. They're not even fighting, man. It is what it is. But still, this is the difference, man. People think he has no chance. Now, a lot of people compare Conor McGregor going to boxing like a football player going to the NBA. And I think it's not that same comparison. It's more like a street ball player going to the NBA, because he still dribbles, he doesn't do all the same shit, run the same plays, but Conor McGregor still trains his hands as you know, so it's not like he has zero boxing skills.
Even if you allow your biased comparison, what street ball player makes it in the NBA?
If they were playing the 21.
I remember thinking back in the day, all watching them and1 tapes, it's like, man, why ain't these dudes out here in the NBA? And it's they just ain't as good. There ain't no such thing as too short. Look at the guy that just got traded yesterday. Yeah, he's like 5'10", 5'11". These guys are as big as that.
I don't know, especially in a one-on-one. A street ball guy could definitely be the NBA player in one-on-one. You're crazy if you don't think that.
But now it's a whole nother thing. Now we ain't even talking team basketball anymore. Now you're going one-on-one.
Well, okay.
Any top basketball player. But what I'm saying is, as far as basketball goes, the top players, nobody can check anybody one-on-one. Like, you mean, if Russell Westbrook and Steph Curry played one-on-one, it'd be a matter of who missed first. It ain't like they're both going to stop the other one, really. You know what I mean? Even Chris Paul, like Paul George, the top 15, 20 players, man, they're going to score on you one-on-one 9 out of 10 times.
Okay, so if you put them one-on-one, that's the case. But what if you put a street ball player versus one-on-one? Didn't the street ball player win?
I mean, but see, look at it. Listen to yourself, man. That's crazy.
I mean, I'm just saying that's a better comparison to me. I don't think it's crazy.
I mean, we can just stop comparing, though, because it's like boxing, MMA. It's like, yeah, Conor throws punches, but like he has a puncher's chance,
hard
right?
Punches.
Right.
He throws hard punches.
I mean, if he gets caught, but who was that? Shane Mosley. I think I read about this a few days ago. He caught Floyd, and Floyd, he came back, man.
Floyd wasn't 40.
He wasn't 40,
he
but
wasn't eating Burger King.
But
Floyd eating Burger King.
He was also going against a professional boxer, though, who was trained to hit him.
Professional sleeper.
No. After that Pacquiao fight, man, Floyd is all defense. Like, I don't even want to see the fight, except for, like, that's the only reason I'm watching the fight is to see if Conor can knock this guy out. Like, you know how I feel about Conor. He's a star. Yeah. Like, that's all I'm waiting on. The fight is boring unless Conor knocks him out. Like, it's that.
He's coming for the knockout.
Floyd's just hyping the fight out. Floyd ain't coming for nothing. As soon as he gets, it's gonna be like a Woodley fight. I'll put it that way. Floyd might think he's coming in. As soon as he gets tagged once, he's out, and he's gonna be playing defense. Cause like, I don't want to get hit again. Are you crazy? That shit hurt.
Have you been keeping up on the Paulie Malidugi drama at all? You seen he landed and Conor McGregor landed in Vegas and Paulie. Did you hear anything about Paulie McDougals?
I mean, a little bit, and that's why we talked about it a little bit earlier. Just Paulie might have that fight coming. Conor, in the boxing world, if Conor boxes again, there's another $100 pay-per-view, and it's Paulie. Oh no, he's gonna get at least.
They'd not be 100.
If not 100 million, it's gonna be 50 million. Yeah. Connor's gonna be Conor setting the standard, man. It's $100 to see Conor fight now. I'm telling you, and he's gonna make him be boxing. It could be UFC, but the reason I don't think he's gonna be in the UFC is because they can't pay this guy 50 million and have the next man take like 10. It's like, and Conor's already talking crazy, like I'm a pimp. Y'all are bums. Like he's not coming back for no cheap change like that.
I'm a pimp, rocking Gucci mink. Oh, that's my fucking dude. I see what you're saying. As far as the fight again, man, I just think if he invests $150 million, he could turn that into $450 million in a couple years. And with the UFC, I think he can make some moves. And then even if he's invested in the UFC, even after he's out of the UFC, even if he loses, he wins because he's building a star for his company. If Kevin Lee beats Conor McGregor's got a star in Kevin Lee for his company.
See, that makes sense as long as Conor won't lose. You're thinking of Conor the Invincible. But what I'm saying is he's thinking about his safety. I'll put it that way. He can invest in the UFC no matter what, and it's going to be worth more no matter what. He fights, the stocks might take that little bitty initial jump, but what I'm saying is he's putting himself at risk getting back in this octagon. It's already kind of questioned his legacy. Like I said, I feel like Diaz beat him already, and I've heard a lot of people say he really fought nobody to get where he's at. So eventually you got to fight somebody, man. Eventually that left ain't gonna connect. Eventually you're gonna meet, another loss, and it's like, why put yourself at risk? And no matter what, you're a star. No matter what you do, you're gonna make money. Why not just go back in the boxing ring, and who cares what happens? You're not really a boxer, but you're getting $50 million at least.
No, you do make some really good points there. Actually, one of them is that you said was he can invest and he doesn't have to fight. So he could still just invest $150 million. I mean, now. If he could just invest $150 million and let it grow, but yeah, it might spike it.
No matter what, it's gonna grow.
It's gonna grow either way. You're right, but I mean, it might not grow. It might not grow if he just goes out of nowhere. Because then you lost Ronda Rousey, you lost Conor McGregor, you lost John Jones. That shit might go down.
Once you officially made it as like a sports industry, I want to say it's hard to fall. Like, no matter what happens in the NBA, it's news. Everyone, look at all these super teams. Like, where are we going to get the next star at? Well, somebody's got to score 20 points on the team, so there's another star. And it's like the UFC, no matter what happens, it's news. We just probably lost John Jones. I feel like we lost Conor McGregor. But, you can still tell me about 5, 10, 15 new people up and coming, and it's like, wow, I want to watch them fight. And all they have to do is win, and they've got another fan. So it's like, no matter what happens, man, there's going to be fights. Somebody's going to win. Somebody's going to be the star. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I mean, to be as big of a star as Conor McGregor, as meteoric of a star, I think some things have to collide. Like, you got to be you have to be able to talk shit. You've got to be able to keep winning. And in the MMA, it's hard to just keep winning. And you got to be able to talk shit on top of whatever. There's a lot of things that go into a big
Well, see, there aren't that many that just keep winning. Like they say, Conor's path. Conor's been walked down the path is what I'm saying. What if Kevin Lee, he's new to the scene, yet he's fighting Ferguson already. He sounds like he's on a path. You beat Ferguson, now you got a title fight. Conor doesn't come back, you fight somebody else, and now you're the champion. Well, what I'm saying is, right, and that's right. Conor, he doesn't come back. The belt's gonna. Well, no, they could fight Conor. Kevin Lee has the most of the game, but Conor, why fight Kevin Lee though? But what I'm saying is, if Kevin Lee beats Kevin Ferguson, he's officially a threat. Conor doesn't want to fight Kevin Lee anymore. There's no reason to fight that. Dude, why? You could fight Paulie Magler, whoever, and make hella more money.
Yeah, and yeah, you might be right. I'm not 100% sure he's coming back. The only way I see him coming back is if he gets shares and wants to make that little spike you were saying, and it might just spike it. But and the only reason I say, like, not as far as the safety or whatever, but the only reason that I still could see it happening is because he's a fighter. That's what he does. I mean, who knows if he wants to go sit on a movie set for 12 hours and be sitting in one scene, and maybe he wants to fight on top of investing in himself.
I mean, maybe, but
it's just a possibility.
Conor doesn't say I'm this warrior, man. Conor says I'm a pimp. Like you say, I'm rocking mink. This guy's a businessman. Maybe he wants to fight. He's gonna fight as long as the money's right. I don't think anybody just wants to fight like that. Like, I mean, you can, I guess. There are those occasional crazy people, but the father time's gonna catch up to you, and we'll see you at the end of your career. But it's rare. Like I say, Conor's been walked down that path, man. He's done it right. This Kevin Lee guy, he's up and coming. He said he talks that shit. You do gotta win, and you do gotta talk that shit to a certain extent. So, like I say, the path is there. When it doesn't come back, who does Kevin Lee fight for the title? Because the title's gonna be vacant now. So you beat Ferguson, it's going to be like Kevin Lee versus Khabib. Who knows? The winner's the champion. And that's going to be a big fight. Exactly. And it's all these stars that just are aligning. Like you said, it has to happen. That's how it happens, because no matter what happens, it's news these days. There's no reason to rig anything. I mean, you can walk them down that path, and they are still going to rig it. I just don't feel like they have to. Like, to me, this guy was running from him. Conor should have took that loss, and then he'd still be the man. He's still a star, but it's like, you had no business fighting Diaz in the first place. Right, just don't go up again, and you still the same amount of stardom. Like, they didn't have to rig it, because no matter what happens,
his haters, they'd have a lot more ammo.
Who cares about the haters? The haters are still going to pay for Conor Mayweather. Like, they're still going to watch it.
He might not even have got the Mayweather fight if he lost to Diaz.
Who knows? Yeah, who knows? Like, maybe not, but whatever happened was news, I'll tell you that way.
Okay, so you got Floyd Mayweather winning. Most likely, you're going to be watching, even though it's going to be a boring fight. You're going to be hoping for Conor McGregor's knockout, just because that's the entertainment value. So, I think that might be it, man. What are we at? Hey, 53 minutes. The last one was like exactly 1 hour and shit. That's pretty fucking close. So, man, it was hard to get fucking the microwave back here, y'all. I'm telling y'all, there wasn't enough news, and we just talked about. Luckily for us, John Jones popped dirty. If John.
us something to talk about, or was it somebody was talking about life advice, or just something?
Somebody said that we should, and once as the shit grows, we'll have more to respond to. I didn't check our Twitter, our big bro. Let me do that real fast. I'll pull it up because what if there was a question on there and I didn't look it up? I mean, I know our Twitter. That's funny. Twitter.com. Fuck it. We'll do that for the last part. So if you want, you can tune the fuck out. We're pretty much going to go out. I'm going to see if anybody has any questions on here. Somebody requested that. So if they do, we'll answer them. And if not, man, pretty much we talked about UFC 216, Kevin Lee Ferguson. We did just the main event, because I'm pretty sure Microwave don't know anyone else on the card. I can't even think of anyone else off the top of my head except for, I think Derek Lewis is fighting for Fabricio Verdum on that card, Swing and Bang. And then also Paige Van Zandt from Dancing with the Stars, little strawweight, she's fighting. But I don't know if you know who she is. I know you don't watch Dancing with the Stars. But Derek Lewis, if you don't know who he is, I'll have to show you for sure because he's a fun dude, man. He's the dude that said, "Where Ronda Rousey fine ass at?" And I don't know if you ever heard about that or whatever. Did you or no?
Yeah, I heard a little bit about it. I kind of want to watch it, but again, if I'm in a good game of Smite or Madden or something, I'm probably not going to turn it off for that one.
Oh, that's one thing we can talk about, and you can actually lead while I pull up the Twitter on this one. Okay, so that Kyrie Irving got traded from the Cavaliers, and that's big. That's big news. I mean, I don't even really watch NBA like I used to, and I know that's huge because that means Kyrie Irving was on LeBron James's team. That means their team. I don't know if LeBron will be leaving this year, next year. I don't know how it's I know you know a lot more about that. So what do you know? Like, is that big right now? Like, can you say more on like that? What does that trade mean? Like, are the Celtics going to be good again, or was Isaiah Thomas a big part of the Celtics?
Well, this pretty much, man. The Golden State Warriors, the way the Cavaliers are constructed, they're not going to beat the Warriors. Okay. So the writing, even before Durant joined, the writing was on the wall for LeBron to leave Cleveland and maybe go finish his career in LA or whatever. So Kyrie gets ahead of this whole thing. As if, everybody already says, anytime LeBron, you can see this stat, every time LeBron doesn't play, it's like the team's like 5 and whatever. Basically, they lose a lot when LeBron doesn't play. And it's, it's always LeBron doesn't have enough help, this and that. So as soon as LeBron leaves, it's going to be back to that. Kyrie, he's a star, but he can't win on his own, this and that. Like, when Kyrie was there alone, they got 2 more back-to-back number 1 picks. They draft him in number 1 and then get 2 more number 1 picks with Kyrie on the roster. I mean, he was young, but, it doesn't look good. LeBron comes back, you win a ring. You know what I mean? Or the Warriors beat them. Then the next year they won a ring. And it's just like this whole time, every time LeBron sits out, they hear this still. And it's you hear LeBron, we're a little too top heavy, this and that. And it's like, so I see LeBron leaving. I'm just going to leave now. And you know what I mean? Let's see if they can win without me. And I think
Celtics have a good team for him to go to, or is he gonna have to be?
Well, see, they just got Gordon Hayward, and then they've got Al Horford in there, and they got the number 3 pick, Jason Tatum. They got Kyrie now. I mean, they're gonna be good. I don't see him beating Cleveland though, because LeBron, he's gonna do what he does in the playoffs, and really, the guy they just got in Isaiah Thomas is like he's a shorter Kyrie Irving. They both pretty much just score. Like, they're not, if they get a good team and then they can get the ball, they're going to pretty much score in crunch time. So, Cavaliers didn't lose much. In fact, the little bit they gained in who they get, Jay Crowder, and then they got the Nets first-round pick. So, LeBron's leaving. Their pick's going to, with no LeBron, no Kyrie, you're probably going to fuck around have another number 1 pick again. Plus, then they just got a Nets pick in that trade. So, now they're going to have 2 high picks, plus Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson, whoever's left on their roster after that. They're going to be in rebuild mode, but it's going to work out for the Cavs because
where's LeBron going to go?
They were saying him and the banana boat buddies were going to end up in New York City somehow.
Boat buddies? Who's that?
It's him, Chris Paul, who was it? LeBron, Melo, of course, and then Dwayne Wade. Yeah, a few years ago, all 4 of them were on this boat and they took a picture.
I remember that.
Yeah, so they're saying all 4 of them are going to end up. They thought was in L.A., but with Paul George heading there, I'm pretty sure he's going there. And then I don't know why it wouldn't work out there, but they're saying they're going to end up in New York. It could work out in L.A. too, but with Paul George going there, they wouldn't have enough money because he's a max player too. But it's sounding like New York right now. But I mean, again, up until that point, I heard LeBron was going to the Lakers though. But if there's any, I forgot who was saying it, Mike and Mike in the morning or First Take, one of them said something about New York City. I hadn't heard anything about that, but they are clear in the cap room. They could trade that Porzingis before they have to pay him too much.
Normally I would say that's fucking crazy, unrealistic, and stupid. All them damn players, the banana boat boys, Chris Paul, LeBron. Go ahead.
I was gonna add on it real quick. One thing they said he wouldn't go there was because the owner or whatever. But
James Dolan.
yeah, they said he bad owner or whatever. But LeBron runs the show wherever he goes. Like that was well known. He was general manager in Cleveland.
Did all that shit.
He traded Wiggins for Kevin Love. Everyone knew LeBron was gonna do that. Like I'm sure the owner of the Knicks be like, he just had Phil Jackson there. He's willing to give control up. So I'm sure if LeBron's like, hey, we're all coming, but I got to say so. Yeah. Who the hell would say no to that?
Yeah. And, I mean, his last owner, after he left the first time, had that scathing email and called LeBron all type of shit. And he came back there, and people thought he wouldn't because of the owner. So, yeah, I don't think that'll be as much of a hurdle. But what I was going to say is normally I would say Chris Paul, LeBron James, Melo, and whoever the hell else, the other person, Dwayne Wade, all four of them on one team would be ridiculous and unrealistic. But with the Golden State Warriors, we need that. I think we need all those guys on one team.
Well, but they're all like 33, 34 already. Well, by the time this happens, Wade's going to be like 40 years old. How good is Wade going to be? And it's only happened because Steph was injured so much. They got Steph on a 4-year, like they paid him $10 million a year for like 4 years. Draymond, it's when you have a player and you can sign him for 4 years, I believe. And once that contract's up, you can re-sign him. If they've been on your team for the full 4 years or maybe 3 of the years, you can go over the cap to keep your players. So with that's how they signed the Iguodala, the Bogut, and all that. So they had about $30 million once Iguodala's and Bogut's, and they lost another guy, Harrison Barnes, I believe. So they just fit Durant right in that cap space, and then they can go over to keep Steph and Draymond and Clay. And now they have Durant for the 3 years. They're going to be able to go over and pay Durant too. They do have once you go over the cap a certain amount, you have to pay more. So I think Clay might leave in about 3 or 4 years once the tax really gets up there.
4 years is still a long time.
Right, that's a dynasty for sure. Even if all those banana boat guys end up in New York, they're gonna be like 35 years old. Like on paper, they're gonna look good, but it's gonna be like that Laker team where we're finally like, oh, Steve Nash, Kobe, Paul Gasol, Dwight, and it's really like, wow, these guys are just a little bit too old.
Damn. Fuck yeah, just on paper, that would be fucking crazy. On paper, yeah, they probably still couldn't fuck with the Warriors, man. I don't know what the NBA is going to do about the Warriors. It's literally...
You said you don't know what the NBA is going to do about the Warriors, and it's like, it's really LeBron's fault. Like, you can't expect everybody to sit back and let you keep forming super teams. Like, this guy had his hand on the whole NBA. He had no business leaving Cleveland the first time, man. He had no help. He had plenty of help, man. He was always a top 2 seed. He was the MVP. Every year before the season started, it's like, oh, it's LeBron, Kobe in the finals. We're going to see it. It's just LeBron never got there, and every time he never got there, he didn't have enough help. Then he literally quit the Boston series, goes and forms a super team in Miami. It's cool. I understand it. I mean, I was a fan. Again, I hear about LeBron. I watch him. I'm a fan. But I feel like there was no reason for him ever to leave Cleveland. So that was a knock on him to me. He goes there, wins championships, cool. But as soon as Dwayne Wade's getting old and injured and shit, oh, the Cavs have 3 number 1 picks now that you're gone, and look where you go back to. It's like, come on, man.
Man, you just the opposite side of LeBron. But what I was gonna say is that's one thing about combat sports, is to close it out is these are like LeBron James. He, like you say, it's always what people always say. Oh, it's because you don't have the help, or oh, these people are winning. Steph Curry's only winning because they've got all this super team, and no one person gets the credit. So it's like even though Steph Curry and they're about to be on a dynasty, does Steph Curry is he ever going to be recognized as one of the greatest, or probably greatest shooters? Yeah, but not one of the greatest players, just because of he's on such a stacked team.
Well, see, it depends to who, because when I watch Steph, I like watching Steph more than Kobe. Again, Kobe was that guy I watch, and on 3 people, he'll fade away and shoot that shit, and you expecting it to go in. Steph will pull up from anywhere, and you're expecting it to go in. And it's like, to me, he's already one of the best players of all time. Everybody's hating. I don't really understand why. To me, the game comes down to can you put the ball in the hole or not, and no one's ever been able to do it like this guy has, as young as he is.
Fuck that. I'm getting on some tinfoil shit. They got magnets in the fucking goals. There's no way that little fucking turd is throwing shit up from half court and it's teardropping in. And then there's no fucking way that's real life.
He is, him and Clay. But not only that, if you watch the Portland Trailblazers, the Warriors had to play them the last 2 playoffs. Lillard and that dude C.J. McCollum, they're shooting the same way. They just don't have like a drive. I'm telling you, watch the Trailblazers play. These guys are out there shooting shots like that. And it's like, but they're all they have on their team. But they're getting to the playoffs. C.J. McCollum.
I've heard his name. I didn't know he was.
He's like a 6'3", 6'4" guard. Oh, he comes out there. No, he's more like Kyrie to me. He's an ISO. You looking for, like when I expected to watch him, I expected Lillard to make the plays, maybe pass to open McCollum. McCollum is a star. I'm telling you, upon itself. Like he's within like maybe 3 or 4 years in the league.
Yes, he must be someone a newer guy because he wasn't.
They used to have like Wesley Matthews maybe or something. CJ McCollum. He's been in the league 4 or 5 years. He's only been on my map the year before last. I seen him play and I was like, okay, they're pretty good. Lillard was the man though. But as of last year's playoffs, man, they're both stars. I'm telling you, like it's. I like those. And not only that, back to Steph, it's like he opens everything up for the Warriors. If you didn't have to come check him way up here at the half court line, then they wouldn't have all these lanes to the easy basket and shit. It's like you take Steph off that Warriors team, they're not a 60-win team at all because it's a lot more. With Durant, maybe they are. Yeah. But before Durant there, these guys broke the NBA. How can you – they're going to hate he ain't one of the best players of all time. And it's like, are you crazy? You watch him play or just the best record of all time, who's that belong to? Like, unanimous MVP. There's a reason, man. This guy is like Connor's a star. Steph is a star too. Like I don't know. He's won me over for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me get the mic before you suck his dick anymore. No, I'm just playing. No, but that's yeah. No, it's not. It's not. But the last thing I say is that's a good point. Like Conor McGregor, Steph's that guy, man. He's just like crossover. But I wonder, do you think Steph's even as big? He's probably bigger than Conor just because the NBA is so much bigger. But yeah. Go ahead.
I would say he's bigger, but at the same time, Connor's, I don't know how to say it, a better star. Like I say, Connor's the one I want to see in the movies and all that. Steph, I just want to see you shoot the ball, man. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? I guess he's too nice. You know, it goes back to talking that shit, I guess. Steph don't really talk that shit. Oh, yeah. Like, even when LeBron tried to get mad and big dog, I'm like, dude, you're like 6'8", 250 pounds. Like, I guess you're trying to get in his head, but that's dumb to me. Like, you're just hating LeBron. Cut it out. But So maybe he's not as much of a cross like NBA. You know, you can be a star and you got to be able to talk that shit and be really good. Because what if Steph Curry was out here like, man, fuck LeBron. That dude's salty because he knows this is a dynasty. He's never getting another ring, and this is my league now. Ooh, I would watch. But see, like I said about Mighty Mouse, you can't be little and talk that shit. Basketball's full of dudes 7 foot. I don't think you want that 6'3" guy just talk. You're already light skinned and they're hating you for it. So you can't be talking that shit there. Like Conor, we want to see him in the action movies because he's already showed the left hand to death. Like Steph, bro, I don't. We can do shoot the ball in the action movie. You might as well keep that good persona, stay in the community, man, and just maybe sell some shoes like Jordan did eventually. But to me, he's already one of the. Again, I didn't watch the old players play. It's just my generation, I guess, but Steph is for sure one of the best players in our generation. Like he's right up there with Durant and LeBron and them. They're trying to knock him way down now. Like he's barely top 10, and it's like, man, that's insane to me.
You said you wouldn't want to see Steph Curry in a movie. I just think not in like an action movie. Yeah, I was about to say, what about like he could be like the next E.T. I said E.T.
Something like Step Brothers, like with Steph and Will Ferrell. If you could get them together.
Oh yeah, that would be pretty funny. Steph Curry, Will Ferrell. I think they could find some roles for him, but I think Conor could go with Will Ferrell. Conor could go with
Wesley Snipes though. Steph can't go with Wesley Snipes.
God, dude. Conor and Wesley Snipes. Yeah, Conor could go with anybody. You could get Conor in the damn. But would Conor have to be in an action role? Could you see Conor in a? Could you see Conor in Space Jam? Yep.
Easily. Like even though he don't play basketball, I don't care. He don't box either. So
they need to.
He don't play basketball.
Hey, what about like a Space Jam, but for different sports? I just thought about that. Like either a football Space Jam, a MMA Space Jam with Conor, a football Space Jam with like Tom Brady.
The thing is getting that contract, I think, with Warner Brothers and being able to use Bugs Bunny and all that.
But I'm saying Warner should do that. That'd be dope.
Yeah, Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's that dude on every commercial he's ever been in. Well, Brady's still playing, and Brady, we don't really know his personality. Peyton Manning, we've seen in the Papa John's commercials and just stuff like that. Peyton Manning's hella funny.
But Michael Jordan
on that level.
I was gonna say Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was more like a guy that you didn't really know his personality. He was more quiet, like Tom Brady. So that's why he was just quiet in the movie. And
he was like the best basketball player ever. So when it came down to play a basketball game to save the earth, it was like, I mean, I guess football you might want Brady, but Yeah, he's still playing right now. I guess that's the biggest problem with that.
Regardless of if it would be Manning or Brady, that's still a good idea.
Because I mean, Manning was a better regular season quarterback, but if the earth's on the line, you don't want Manning in that game.
Or Brett Favre back in the day would have been a good.
Favre throws way too many interceptions.
No, I'm just saying back in the day, like when Space Jam was big, Favre was probably that guy. Like
but he only won one ring. Like Michael Jordan was the best player ever by the time he made Space Jam.
Okay, so it'd have to be Brady, damn it. But okay, regardless of who it would be, why didn't they do that? They did basketball. They should have did football. They could have had the exact same concept, the Monstars, but football Monstars.
Well, to me, it seemed like in the 90s and 2000s, people kind of felt like, I mean, there were some remakes, but they generally felt like it was done already. Y'all do something new. This is the time for all the twisted remakes and shit like that. It's like they could do it now and everyone would want to see it.
Dude, Conor McGregor, MMA Space Jam. Fuck boxing Space Jam.
No, because the Space Jam is Looney Tunes is for the kids. You wouldn't want an MMA Space Jam. You couldn't do that.
You know how them starting to, there are literally cartoons now for adults, like Batman kicking ass and like having sex in the Batman cartoon. It's like for adults. They could make like an adult Space Jam with Connor, and it wouldn't have to be no damn sex scenes. But I'm just saying, like where he could cuss. What the fuck? Who the fuck is that guy talking about one of the Monstars?
I can't wait till we get two mics. I'm literally here trying to pull the microphone out of this guy's hand, and he's going down his road. But what I'm trying to say is, it wouldn't work. You turn off so much of your market. You know what I mean? Space Jam is for everyone. You can't Space Jam for adults. It's like, well, damn, there's more kids here. Right, but that's more like, I've never heard of no Batman for adults. Maybe it's somewhere deep in the internet. Right, and some people might know about it, but someone like me who's mainly around the kids and stuff, that's never going to reach me. If Space Jam has that everybody appeal already. So it's already going to be there.
All right. Okay. Regardless of if it's not MMA, you get my original point that football, soccer.
Connor could be in the football Space Jam. Is what I don't care. That's what. That's a little sarcastic. But what I'm saying is Connor's that big time. That's what I was saying in the beginning of the podcast when I was saying put him in Space Jam. It wasn't even MMA Space Jam. It's put Connor in a movie. I want to watch it.
Is there anybody that's like not Warner's that like has iconic cartoons that are more adult?
I'm sure there are some way, like
Dragon Ball Z movie. You know what I'm saying? Like
the Dragon Ball Z. I don't like the idea of the CGI. I haven't seen a good one yet.
I'm just talking about like Space Jam style.
Well, Connor don't have to be in Space Jam. You can leave that to the sports. But I'm saying putting him in anything.
MMA is a sport. But go ahead.
MMA is a sport, but I'm saying you can't Space Jam MMA because MMA doesn't appeal to kids in general.
Okay, so I'm just saying like a cartoon or a CGI type thing that doesn't already appeal to only kids. Like a cartoon that's more tailored toward like teens and adults. I mean, I only use Dragon Ball Z as an example because I know a lot of people watch that are. I'm just saying like something that's not Looney Tunes for Connor.
Well, see, let me change this then because Connor's not for kids. I'll put it that way. That's the problem there.
So
Connor, the whole
Connor in a family movie.
Probably not Space Jam. Like I say, in general, sarcasm. It's like Connor's a star. I just want to see him somewhere in Hollywood. But in general, I don't think Connor. That target market ain't for the kids. I don't think he can turn off his filter at all. Like his big Irish balls are gonna come out or something. You know what I mean? He's always gonna bring this. I'm a pimp. You're a bum. I'll slap. Like this guy, he's not. He's got too much money to even want a filter. He's not worried about that. He doesn't need it.
This is 27. I mean, I'm just saying the lines are fucking the censorship. It's not like 10 years ago. You know, Conor McGregor. I mean, there's kids that watch MMA. There's kids that watch UFC. Literally kids.
There are there are, but you can't. Oh, there is someone, so everyone. It's like, ideally, kids aren't watching MMA. Sure, there are some. There's always gonna be that guy. Oh, my kid watches MMA, and that's cool, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's some people are gonna say there is. I personally don't care. But what I'm saying is, use your brain. You're gonna know MMA is not for kids.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. I mean, but you could say, what I'll say is they have UFC on Big Fox, like Fox, Channel 4. They have World Series of Fighting on NBC, like on regular.
But also, if you pay attention to anything on Fox, there's commercials and stuff, and they commercials to the target market. I'm pretty sure during the Fox UFC fight, there aren't going to be like kids' toys commercials because that's not their target market then. It's going to be like beer commercials, fast food commercials, stuff like that. Like that, it's not for kids, man.
Okay. But there's family movies. There's family movies where like the dad's drinking a beer on the vacation. It doesn't mean just because he's got a Corona.
You're going down a whole nother road now, man. That's a family movie. Yeah, maybe a dad might have a beer, but that's not even what we're talking about.
And what I'm saying is, okay, so you're saying Conor McGregor's not for kids or whatever, so could he not act in a family movie where he's playing like Bob and he's not Conor?
If he's in a family movie, it's going to be like, the hitman shows up and it's like he ain't really – well, I'm saying he ain't really got to do nothing, but he's that tough guy who's going to be intimidating. Right, or like Ice Cube when he's doing that mean look and shit like that, but he's never really going to have to – that's what I'm saying. Never really going to have to do it, but he's going to have to be that intimidating guy because everyone knows he's Conor.
Yeah.
He couldn't get on there and like be the loving dad like that. Like Ice Cube, I don't know how he got that off. He can do it. Maybe Conor can. Maybe he's a hell of an actor. Maybe at the end of the day, because Ice Cube, he's a hell of an actor. I didn't think he was at first, but he did play the loving role too, and he got respect for that. So maybe Conor could do it. But as of now, I don't know. I mean, see what you're saying. Maybe Conor's acting this whole time. Maybe he gets on Hollywood and he can turn it on. Maybe this guy we all know ain't Conor. Maybe you know what I mean? But we'd have to see because as far as I know, this is Conor. He ain't got no filter. He can't turn it off. But maybe he can.
Okay, so I see what you're saying, too. Like, the Conor McGregor persona is just going to override any of his movie roles. So even if he's in a kid's movie, you're going to be thinking of a fucking fighter.
At the same time, though, and what I'm saying, Ice Cube was in NWA, so I wouldn't have thought he could turn it off either. So I'm saying if Conor, maybe he has that acting bone in his body to where he can do that. And that's why I was saying maybe he's acting this whole time right now. Maybe that's not even him. Because I've seen some of his old fights, and it's like, how did you go from that to what you are now, man? You used to look, the whole man bun rocking thing, and it's like, dude, I didn't think you'd be that guy, and I see his old fights. Like now you see him the way he's got the beard and the shit. He's just star when you look at him. But back then, it's like, maybe he is acting now.
I see what you're saying, and I mean, I will say one last thing is before I'll wrap it up. He got a phone call real quick. But I say one last thing is I do disagree, man. I think MMA is starting to cross the lines of. I mean, I don't think it's bad for. I mean, I wouldn't have a fucking kid party where all I have them watching is MMA, but I don't think it's really bad for kids to see MMA as a sport. Now, I wouldn't let kids watch like World Star or Street Fight videos, but if they understand it's a sport, I think that's fine. And for them to have it on Fox, I think Conor could do it, being Conor. Go ahead.
That's you liking MMA. There's no way that fighting's for kids. As a kid, you see them training at 3. But what I'm saying is, you used to see the elementary, middle school kids, basketball, football, flag, stuff like that. They're doing sports, right? Nowadays, it's at another level. But, again, self-defense is one thing, but MMA is not self-defense. I mean, you can try and spin it like that if you want to, but when you got little kids on the playground practicing MMA, that's a problem. You're going home, you're expelled. You know what I mean? You can practice basketball, football, everything, soccer, all that. But the minute you think it's okay for kids, they're doing it on the playground. And that's not okay.
Yeah, they got to break out the basketballs, the footballs, and the wraps, the hand wraps. That's funny, man. All right, well, I think we did enough, man. This was actually over an hour. And my little niece is here. She's saying it's time for us to wrap it up. So we're going to wrap it up, man. We got Microwave here. I don't know how long it was between episodes, but it'll probably be this long between them just because it took – if there's – and that's one thing he said, it's just since we cover so many things, like we covered 3 coming up pay-per-views, so that's like a couple months away. So there's not a lot of content to cover as far as – this dichotomy of me a hardcore fan, him like more casual, so he doesn't know about like, as far as UFC 216, he doesn't really know like the Paige Van Zants and all of them yet. So as we start talking more about it and he'll start learning these people more, then we'll be able to talk about the whole card, and that'll just be more shit to talk about. But as of right now, send in your questions, send in any comments, something else that would be interesting for us to talk about, you think, or whatever the fuck. I mean, you can just say them to me on my channel or at the Big Brother. There was nothing on Twitter yet, but I mean, I don't even have a picture on there, so that's fine with that. But this was the 2nd episode, man. It is what it is. Look forward to the 3rd episode. I mean, not tomorrow, but shit, it'll come. Probably, after Floyd Mayweather Conor, if some crazy shit happens. And that's another thing that happened here, this crazy-ass John Jones thing that just happened. Yeah, he said we'll definitely do a Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather recap. So we'll do that. With that being said, look forward to that. Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather is August 26th. Today is August 23rd. 3 fucking days. Let's get it. It is what it is. Let the motherfucking people in the comments. I was going to say the haters, but this is a different channel. Just let us know what the fuck you tell me in the comments. Dude,